What if I told you the key to not just surviving, but thriving,
Okay.
even in the toughest times, lies within you?
Okay.
Forget those self-help gurus
Yeah.
and motivational posters.
Right.
Today, we're going deep into the mind of a man
Okay.
who found meaning in the most horrific place imaginable, a Nazi concentration camp.
You're talking Viktor Frankl
Again.
in his incredible book, Man's Search for Meaning.
This deep dive isn't just about exploring the horrors of the Holocaust.
Okay.
It's about unearthing the insights Frankl gained
Yeah.
into human resilience and the search for meaning in life,
Okay.
even in the face of unimaginable suffering.
Right.
And hey, if you find this kind of deep dive fascinating, make sure you've hit that subscribe button
Okay.
on our YouTube channel
Yeah.
so you don't miss out on future episodes.
Cool.
Now, to understand Frankl's message,
Yeah.
we first need to grasp the absolute hell he endured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to even comprehend the constant hunger, the systematic humiliation,
Yeah.
the ever-present threat of death that he faced daily.
He talks about this initial period in the camp
Yeah.
as a phase of shock.
Okay.
Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Frankl and his fellow prisoners were ripped from their lives,
Right.
their families,
Yeah.
everything familiar.
Yeah.
They were stripped naked,
Wow.
shaved,
Really?
reduced to a number.
It's chilling.
They were no longer individuals,
Yeah.
just cogs in a brutal machine designed to erase their identities.
He even recounts an anecdote
Yeah.
where a fellow prisoner points to the crematorium chimney
Right.
and says, "That's where your friend is,
Yeah.
floating up to heaven."
Yes. That anecdote is a stark reminder
Wow.
of the constant presence of death in Auschwitz.
Right.
It permeated every aspect of their existence.
It's difficult to imagine the psychological impact of living under that kind of constant threat,
Yeah.
knowing death could come at any moment. Did Frankl observe any patterns in how people coped?
He did.
Good.
Frankl described it as a three-phase process.
Okay.
The first, as we discussed, was shock and denial.
Right.
Then came a period of emotional detachment,
Okay.
a kind of emotional numbness, as a defense mechanism against the overwhelming horror.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like the mind protecting itself from overload.
Exactly.
Wow.
And finally, the third phase emerged.
Yeah.
A struggle to find meaning, even in suffering.
Wow.
This is where his concept of the will to meaning comes in.
Okay.
He argues that this innate drive, this search for purpose,
Right.
is what truly distinguishes us as humans.
So it's not just about avoiding pain
No.
or seeking pleasure, as Freud suggested,
No.
or striving for power, like Adler proposed.
Interesting.
Frankl believed that even in the most horrific circumstances, what drives us fundamentally is the search for meaning. And he saw this play out in Auschwitz.
He did.
This is where it gets really intriguing.
Yeah.
Can you give us some specific examples
Sure.
of how prisoners found meaning amidst the unimaginable suffering of Auschwitz?
Love played a huge role. Clinging to memories of loved ones, imagining their faces, having silent conversations with them.
Yeah.
These became lifelines in a sea of despair.
It's incredible how, even in a place like that,
Right.
the human spirit could find ways to connect
Absolutely.
and find solace in love.
And it wasn't just about romantic love.
Okay.
Small acts of kindness also became incredibly significant.
Like what?
Sharing a crust of bread,
Okay.
offering a word of encouragement,
Right.
simply listening to someone's story.
Wow.
These acts, however small,
Yeah.
reaffirmed their humanity and their connection to one another.
Did Frankl ever write about humor in the camps?
He did.
It seems almost impossible to imagine.
Humor, even in the darkest of times,
Yeah.
offered moments of reprieve,
Right.
a way to rise above the grim reality, if only for a moment. It provided a sense of camaraderie, a shared defiance against the dehumanizing conditions.
It's almost unbelievable that even in a place like Auschwitz,
I know.
there were moments of humor and even beauty.
Yeah.
Frankl himself describes finding a page from a Hebrew prayer book
Yeah.
in his new coat.
He interpreted that as a sign,
Yes.
a reason to hold on to his thoughts,
Right.
his beliefs,
Okay.
to persevere. It gave him a sense of hope and purpose
Right.
in a seemingly hopeless situation.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
He also talks about cultural hibernation in the camp, where most conversations were about practical matters of survival,
Yeah.
with the exception of discussions about politics and religion.
Right.
What do you think that says about the human need for meaning?
I think it highlights the fact that even in the most extreme circumstances, we seek to understand the world around us, to connect with something larger than ourselves. Discussions about politics and religion provided a sense of intellectual stimulation,
Right.
a way to engage with big questions about life, suffering,
Yeah.
the nature of humanity.
Right.
It was a way to escape the immediate reality of the camp
Okay.
and connect with something transcendent.
It makes you wonder, even if it was just for a moment,
Yeah,
did those discussions offer a sense of hope?
I think so.
A belief that there was a world beyond the barbed wire fences, where meaning and purpose still existed?
It's a testament to the human spirit's resilience, its ability to seek meaning even in the face of absolute despair.
We're going to pause here for a quick moment,
Okay.
but when we come back, we'll explore how Frankl's insights from Auschwitz
Okay.
can apply to our lives today.
Sounds good.
And don't forget, if you're enjoying this deep dive into man's search for meaning,
Right.
hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on future episodes.
Right.
We're back and ready to continue our deep dive into Viktor Frankl's man's search for meaning.
Right.
It's incredible how he managed to find flickers of meaning in such a horrific place.
It is.
But how does this apply to us today?
Well,
I mean, thankfully, most of us will never face
yeah,
anything remotely close to the horrors of a concentration camp.
that's true. But Frankl's insights have profound implications for modern life.
Okay.
He believed that the human search for meaning is universal,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of our circumstances.
So even though our challenges might be different,
Right.
the underlying need for meaning is the same.
Exactly.
Okay.
Frankl identified a phenomenon he called the existential vacuum,
Okay.
and he believed it was pervasive in modern society.
Can you explain the existential vacuum in more detail?
It's a sense of emptiness,
Okay.
boredom,
Yeah.
and lack of purpose
Mm-hmm.
that can arise when we don't have a clear sense
Right.
of why we're here,
Right.
what our lives are about.
Yeah.
It's a feeling of being lost and directionless.
I think a lot of people can relate to that,
Yeah.
even if they haven't experienced the extreme suffering that Frankl endured.
I agree.
That feeling of meaninglessness, like you're just going through the motions,
Yeah.
stuck in a rut.
You put it perfectly.
Right.
Frankl connected this existential vacuum
Okay.
to contemporary issues like Sunday neurosis,
Okay.
where people feel a sense of dread and anxiety on Sundays because the work week is looming.
Yeah.
And they lack a sense of purpose and fulfillment outside of their jobs.
It's like we're so focused on productivity and achievement that we lose sight of what truly matters,
Yeah.
what gives our lives meaning beyond the daily grind.
Precisely.
And this is where Frankl's therapeutic approach, logotherapy, comes in.
Logotherapy aims to help people find meaning,
Right.
but not by giving them easy answers,
Okay.
right?
Right.
It's more about guiding them toward their own unique purpose.
Could you give an example of how logotherapy might help someone uncover their meaning?
Frankl tells a story about a mother
Okay.
who was utterly devastated after the death of one of her children.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
She felt like her life was a complete failure.
It's natural to feel lost and hopeless
Of course.
after such a profound loss.
But through logotherapy, this mother was able to shift her perspective.
How?
She realized that her other son, who was crippled,
Okay.
needed her care now more than ever.
So by focusing on the needs of her surviving son,
Yes.
she found a renewed sense of purpose.
She found meaning in caring for him
Right.
and realizing her life was far from a failure. Her suffering, while immense,
Yeah.
didn't negate her ability to find purpose and make a difference.
This brings up Frankl's belief in the power of choice.
Yeah,
He saw this even in the concentration camps,
right.
that even in the direst circumstances, people still had a degree of choice
Exactly.
in how they responded to their suffering.
He firmly believed that we always have the capacity to choose our attitude, our response to suffering.
I'm reminded of the remarkable story he tells
Yeah.
about Dr. J,
Okay.
the mass murderer of Steinhoff.
Ah, yeah.
Hard to imagine a more horrific act.
Dr. J was a doctor during the Nazi regime
Okay.
who was responsible for sending countless mentally ill patients to the gas chambers.
Wow.
He was a fanatic, completely devoted to the Nazi ideology.
After the war, he was imprisoned by the Russians.
Right.
And while in prison, he underwent a profound transformation.
He did.
What kind of transformation?
He became a source of consolation and support for his fellow prisoners,
Really?
living by the highest moral standards.
So like a complete reversal of character.
It's a complex question.
Yeah.
But I think it speaks to the incredible capacity for change that resides within each of us.
You're reminding me of that quote
Okay.
by Viktor Frankl.
Mm-hmm.
Man's search for meaning
Mm-hmm.
is not primarily a search for pleasure, as Freud believed, or a search for power, as Alfred Adler taught,
Right.
but a search for meaning.
Exactly.
Dr. J's story really challenges the idea
It does.
that people are simply products of their environment.
It shows that we always have the potential for growth and change,
Wow.
no matter our past.
This is pretty heavy stuff.
It is.
We've talked about the horrors of the concentration camp,
Right.
the psychological impact of that kind of suffering,
Mm-hmm.
and Frankl's idea of the will to meaning.
Oh, okay.
Where do we go from here?
Next, let's explore how Frankl's concept of tragic optimism can help us navigate the challenges and find meaning in our own lives,
Okay.
even when faced with difficult circumstances.
That sounds fascinating.
It is.
And for our listeners who are finding this deep dive as insightful as we are,
Yeah.
be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Okay.
We have lots more mind-expanding deep dives coming your way.
Cool. Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about the incredible capacity for change that we all possess. This connects directly to Frankl's concept of tragic optimism.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to hear more about this.
Okay.
It sounds almost counterintuitive,
Yeah.
finding optimism in the midst of tragedy.
It's not about denying the tragic aspects of life
Okay.
or pretending everything is okay.
Right.
It's about finding meaning and purpose,
Right.
even when confronted with suffering, guilt, and even death.
So it's more about acknowledging the reality of suffering,
Right.
but choosing to focus on the potential for growth and meaning that can arise from it.
Exactly. It's about having a why that fuels your how.
Okay.
Frankl believed we all have this capacity within us. It's not about being happy all the time,
Right.
but about having a reason to be happy,
Okay.
a purpose that drives us forward even when things are tough.
I'm starting to understand how this relates to the prisoners in Auschwitz
Yeah,
who found ways to hold on to hope and meaning,
right.
even in such a dehumanizing environment.
Frankl believed that even in a concentration camp, people had the freedom to choose their attitude,
Right.
their response to suffering.
Okay.
They could choose to give up hope, or they could choose to find meaning in their suffering, to use it as an opportunity for growth.
So it's not about being passive victims of circumstance,
Exactly.
but actively choosing how we respond to the challenges we face.
Yes, we may not be able to control what happens to us,
Right.
but we can control how we react,
Okay.
how we interpret those events.
But how do we actually put this concept of tragic optimism into practice in our own lives?
Okay.
How do we find meaning when we're struggling, when life feels overwhelming,
Right.
and those positive aspects feel so distant?
Frankl outlines 3 main avenues for discovering meaning:
Okay.
creative work, experiencing love and beauty,
Well,
and our attitude towards unavoidable suffering.
those are powerful pathways.
They are.
Let's take a closer look at each of them.
Okay.
First, creative work.
Yeah.
How does that help us cultivate meaning?
Think about it when we engage in creative work, whether it's writing, painting, building, or even solving a complex problem at work.
Right.
We're leaving our mark on the world. We're contributing something unique, something that only we could create.
It's like we're expressing ourselves.
Exactly.
Putting a piece of ourselves out there in the world.
And that act of creation, of bringing something new into being,
Yeah.
can be incredibly fulfilling, a powerful source of meaning. It allows us to connect with something larger than ourselves, to contribute to the world in a meaningful way.
That makes sense.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a masterpiece or a
Right.
grand invention.
Right.
It could be something as simple as cooking a delicious meal for our family,
Yeah.
tending a garden, writing a poem,
Right.
or even coming up with a creative solution to an everyday problem.
Absolutely.
It's about engaging in activities that use our talent and abilities
Yeah.
to bring something new and positive into the world.
Absolutely. And what about experiencing love and beauty?
I'm ready to explore that.
Okay.
I feel like love in its many forms
Mm-hmm.
has this incredible power to connect us,
Yeah.
to make us feel truly alive and grateful. It seems like such a fundamental aspect of human existence.
You're right. When we think about the most meaningful moments in our lives, they often involve love. The love for a partner, a child, a parent, a pet, a friend,
Right.
or even the love for a hobby or a cause that resonates deeply with us.
It's not just romantic love either.
Right.
It's about appreciating the beauty in the world around us.
Yes.
In nature, art, music, literature.
Yeah.
Or even in a simple act of kindness from a stranger.
Exactly. These experiences of love and beauty fill us with a sense of awe and wonder.
Right.
They remind us that there's more to life than just our own little bubble of existence.
Yeah.
They connect us to something larger than ourselves.
It's like our hearts expand. And we feel a sense of belonging and connection to something beyond our individual selves.
Precisely. And when we open ourselves up to these experiences, to the love and beauty that surround us, we tap into a deeper well of meaning and purpose.
So we've talked about the creative expression.
Yes.
And love and beauty. But the third path feels more challenging.
Okay.
How can we possibly find meaning in suffering?
Right.
Seems counterintuitive.
This is perhaps Frankl's most radical and profound insight.
Okay.
He argued that even in unavoidable suffering, even in the face of tragedy and loss, we can find meaning.
But how is that even possible?
Okay.
When we're hurting, when life feels unfair and unbearable,
Yeah.
how can we possibly see meaning in those moments?
It's not about pretending the pain isn't real.
Okay.
Or minimizing the difficulty.
Right.
It's about choosing our attitude, our response to that suffering.
Okay.
It's about asking ourselves, what can I learn from this experience? How can I grow from this?
Right.
How can I use this experience to help others?
So it's about seeking purpose in the midst of pain.
Yes.
It's about not letting suffering break us,
Right.
but using it as fuel for growth and transformation.
Exactly. Frankl tells a poignant story about a young woman in the concentration camp who knew she was dying.
Wow.
Despite her circumstances, she found peace and even gratitude in the simple beauty of a chestnut tree outside her window.
Wow.
She saw it as a symbol of life, of eternal life.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, we can choose to focus on the light.
Yes.
On the beauty that still exists.
Absolutely.
Even when faced with our own mortality, we can find something to hold on to, something that gives us a reason to keep going.
Frankl's point is that even when suffering is unavoidable, even when we're facing situations beyond our control, we always have the freedom to choose our response.
That's a profound insight. It's about taking responsibility for our own experience.
Yes.
Even in the face of pain.
Right.
But it feels complex.
Yeah.
Isn't there a danger of romanticizing suffering?
Sure.
I mean, some pain is just senseless, isn't it?
I understand your concern. Frankl was very clear that he wasn't advocating for seeking out suffering. He wasn't saying that we need to suffer to find meaning. His message was about recognizing that even in the midst of suffering, we have the power to choose our response. We can let it break us, or we can use it as an opportunity for growth and transformation.
That clarifies things.
Good.
It's not about seeking pain, but about finding purpose within it.
Exactly.
It's about choosing resilience.
Yes.
But what if we just can't find meaning?
Okay.
What if we've searched and searched, but still feel lost and empty?
Frankl acknowledged that the search for meaning is not always easy. It's a lifelong journey, full of twists and turns. And sometimes the meaning we find isn't what we expected. It might emerge in unexpected ways. Through seemingly insignificant moments and encounters.
So it's not a straight path to enlightenment.
Not at all.
Interesting.
Frankl believed that meaning often reveals itself in unexpected ways. He tells the story of a man who was deeply depressed after the death of his wife.
Oh, that's understandable.
He felt like his life had lost all purpose.
Grief can be so profound, so disorienting.
Frankl asked this man a simple yet powerful question. What would have happened if you had died first and your wife had to live without you?
Whoa, that question reframes everything.
It does.
It shifts the perspective from one of personal loss to one of love and sacrifice.
The man realized that his suffering, his pain at living without his wife was a testament to the depth of their love. He had spared her that pain.
Wow.
He found a renewed sense of meaning in knowing that his life and his death had spared his wife from enduring that same suffering.
It's amazing how a shift in perspective, a simple question,
I know,
can reveal such profound meaning in the face of loss.
And that's what logotherapy is all about.
Right.
Helping people to see their lives from a different angle.
Yeah.
To uncover the meaning that is often hidden in plain sight. It's about reminding people that they have the power to choose their response,
Right.
to find meaning even in the most challenging of circumstances.
It's a message that is both hopeful and empowering.
It is.
It reminds us that even when things feel hopeless, there is always the possibility for meaning and growth.
Absolutely.
This deep dive has been incredibly thought-provoking.
Good.
It's given me a lot to reflect on, and I hope our listeners feel the same.
I too.
As we wrap up.
Yeah.
Is there a final thought you'd like to leave us with?
One of the most important takeaways from Frankl's work
Okay.
is the idea that meaning isn't static, something we achieve and then hold on to.
Right.
It's a dynamic process,
Okay.
a constant search that unfolds throughout our lives.
Right.
Our circumstances change, our priorities shift, and our understanding of ourselves evolves. What gave us meaning yesterday might not resonate with us today. That's why it's so important to stay open to new experiences, new challenges, new ways of finding meaning.
You're reminding us that the search for meaning is a lifelong journey,
Exactly.
a journey that requires us to stay curious, to keep exploring, to keep evolving.
Frankl believed that one of the most powerful ways to cultivate meaning is through what he called self-transcendence.
Can you explain what self-transcendence means in this context?
It's the ability to look beyond our own immediate needs and concerns
Okay.
and focus on something larger than ourselves.
Right.
When we focus solely on our own happiness, our own comfort,
Yeah.
we can actually end up feeling more empty and unfulfilled.
It's like the saying, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others.
Precisely when we dedicate ourselves to something bigger than ourselves,
Yeah.
whether it's a cause of community
Yeah.
or even just the well-being of another person, we tap into a deeper source of meaning.
Right.
Our individual struggles can feel less overwhelming when we're focused on something greater.
So it's about connecting with something beyond our ego,
Exactly.
contributing to something larger than ourselves.
Frankl believed that self-transcendence is essential for living a truly meaningful life.
Before we say goodbye,
Okay.
I want to touch on one more concept that Frankl discussed.
Right.
Earlier, we talked about the existential vacuum.
Yeah.
Could you remind our listeners what that means?
Sure.
And how it might manifest in our lives today?
The existential vacuum is that feeling of emptiness and meaninglessness
Right.
that can arise when we lack a clear sense of purpose in our lives. It's a feeling of being lost and directionless,
Yeah.
unsure of what we're here for.
That feeling of emptiness and lack of purpose can manifest in many ways.
It can.
For some, it might be a sense of disillusionment with their career, feeling like their work lacks meaning or purpose.
Right.
For others, it might be a feeling of aimlessness after retirement.
Yeah.
A sense that they no longer have a clear role or purpose in society.
You're right. And I think Frankl was ahead of his time in identifying this existential vacuum.
Right.
He believed it was a common experience in modern society,
Yeah.
where traditional sources of meaning, such as religion and community, have lost their influence for many.
Right.
He saw it as a spiritual crisis of sorts.
And logotherapy offers tools for navigating this crisis,
It does.
for finding our own meaning in a world that often feels chaotic and confusing.
Yes, logotherapy can help us connect with our values, identify our unique strengths and talents,
Right.
and find ways to live a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into man's search for meaning,
Okay.
what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners will remember?
Even in the darkest of times, even when faced with unimaginable suffering, we have the power to choose our response to find meaning and purpose.
Okay.
It's not about denying the pain or pretending that everything is okay. It's about embracing the complexities of life, the good and the bad, and finding a reason to keep going, to keep growing, to keep searching for that spark of meaning that makes life worth living.
That's a beautifully articulated message of hope and resilience.
Thank you.
It's a reminder that we are not simply victims of circumstance,
Right.
but active agents in creating meaning in our lives.
Exactly.
Frankl's message is as relevant today as it was when he first wrote Man's Search for Meaning.
I agree.
And for those of you who are finding this deep dive as enriching as we are, be sure to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on future explorations of profound and thought-provoking topics.
Sounds good.
We'll be back soon with more deep dives that challenge us to think critically, expand our perspectives, and explore the depths of human experience.
Great.
Until then, keep searching, keep growing, keep diving deep.